This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Improved salary for health extension officers in the country. Plans on uplifting village court system underway. And MAPEX Training Institute elevate education services. Good evening, you're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. A total of 663 health extension officers throughout Papua New Guinea will now receive an improved salary and allowances starting this year to year 2025 after the signing of a memorandum of agreement between the Department of Personnel Management and National Department of Health. The last agreement was signed in 2011 and ended in 2013. It has been 10 years since the renewal of this agreement.
Health Extension Officers, or HEOs, serve in some of the remotest parts of PNG. After a decade of dedication in serving the people, NDOH and DPM have announced the improved conditions for this group of people. Secretary for the Department of Personnel Management, Tyas Sensen, elaborated on the contents of the agreement.
Apart from the four existing claims, there were improvements made to domestic market allowance. There was some increase to consolidated overtime and on-call allowance, increase to the mental health allowance, increase in the book allowance, and a new log of claim, which was also taken into account and got approved in the process. So that new one is called the Rural HCO's Attraction allowance of 3,000 kina per annum.
It is expected that by Pay 26 of 2023, these better conditions will be implemented.
I want to encourage our officials from Department of Treasury and Finance that when this comes to implementation and the CEOs of PHAs right around the country, let's implement all these agreements for the sake of health officials in the rural sectors.
Secretary for National Department of Health, Dr. Osborne Liko, extended his gratitude to the HEOs that have ensured there was service continuation all these years.
To all 21 PHAs and the various other organizations where our HEOs are performing the various roles and responsibilities, I think the signing means it's task on us. And I think we're doing it in the right time where the budget process is about to begin. So please have that all included in the budget process so that come next year and when the implementations and the payment of those allowances start to be effected, please let's not have any excuses, because I think, of course, we understand the issues of the cash flow and the economy, but obviously must consider it in the process of budget so that it doesn't become the issue.
This agreement is a way of recognizing the efforts of HEOs in rural settings. Amanda Ilaitia, National EMTV News.
Village Courts and the Land Mediation Secretariat under the Department of Justice and Attorney General has commenced its 2-day workshop today in Port Moresby. There are 18 provincial liaison officers across the country participating in this workshop. This aims to assist them with the implementation of the village courts and its crime prevention through revitalized village court system at the subnational level.
In this workshop, provincial liaison officers were trained on terms of references and their job descriptions. After the workshop, the Acting Secretary for Department of Justice and Attorney General stated that they want to see PLOs act on the practical lessons and the experience that they get during this workshop induction to go on the ground and monitor the village court officials.
Okay, our good PLOs will be providing the executive officer support. That's part of the package here in the training program. So they will be required to take meeting minutes, follow up on resolutions. The likely resolutions will be this: appointment of land mediators. The role of the provincial land dispute committees are to appoint land mediators. Under law, land mediators are to be appointed only by the provincial land dispute committees under the Land Dispute Settlement Act. That's the authority under law.
They also expect to see other functions for Provincial Land Disputes Committee is to declare land mediation areas.
Our good provincial liaison officers will assist with that, to do follow-ups and all that, and then draft up submissions and then forward them over to the Minister for Justice to make appointment of land mediators and declare land mediation areas.
A participant from the Yalubupangia Community Justice Service Center, Robert Novombu, stressed that this is an important workshop, that they have learned the court system in the rural base and how to implement the justice system at the village level.
The workshop is very important so that we have a coordination done between the national government, the roles and responsibilities of the National Department of Justice and Attorney General at the provincial government level, so that we can have the liaison and working relationship can be established.
Village Court and Crime Prevention through Revitalized Village Court System Strategy 2020 to 2030 are the National Executive Council endorsed blueprints tailor-made to reduce and prevent crime, to reduce law and order issues in the country. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
The Commissioner of Independent Commission Against Corruption, Andrew Forbes, along with his deputies and interim chairman, Thomas Elu, had a meeting with the Commissioner General and 2 commissioners of Internal Revenue Commission today. This meeting was part of ICAC's effort to connect with key stakeholders.
IRC's Commissioner General Sam Coim extended his congratulations to the ICAC team and assured IRC's commitment in collaborative efforts in combating corruption. IRC has recently established a dedicated tax crime division to investigate and prosecute tax evaders, and they will closely cooperate with ICAC to hold accountable those who defraud the state through tax evasion. IRC noted that highlighting corruption is a significant development challenge. IRC's former task force whip chairman acknowledged the Marape government's political commitment by establishing ICAC and appointing independent commissioners. IRC eagerly anticipates a fruitful collaboration with ICAC to combat corruption in Papua New Guinea. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
The World Bank Group in Papua New Guinea has commended the government for successfully launching the Medium-Term Development Plan for recently. Country Director for PNG and the Pacific Islands World Bank, Stephen Degwa, noted that the Papua New Guinea Country Economic Memorandum will be aligned to the government's plan.
And it's actually my pleasure to...
World Bank's PNG Country Director Stephen Ndegwa said PNG has a big problem in addressing its economic status as well as opportunities to improve. He mentioned that the government's development plan that was launched is an opportunity to monitor and drive the economy forward.
Is in the 4th medium-term development plan. This is an ambitious plan, but it's a plan that a country like PNG needs. It provides the ambition to what this country can be, and what the CEM does is provide a number of recommendations of how you can get there.
Mr. Ndegwa said that the government has many ways to provide economic growth.
PNG has opportunity and means from some of the actions the government is already taking. The budget repair that the Treasurer has been talking about for several months, and that's underway. The IMF program that the government has signed up with that will help put in reforms but also support the budget.
World Bank's senior country economist for PNG, Ruslan Piontkivsky, outlines that in order for the economy to grow, the government needs to focus on domestic revenue that's focusing on developing human capital.
Government should focus on the domestic revenue mobilization, including revenue from the extractive sectors. Why is that? Because this fiscal consolidation, this budget repair that the government is doing, is relying both on expenditure and revenues. But there are limits to how much you could reduce your expenditure, especially in a country like PNG, where the demands for infrastructure, demand for investment into human capital, into health, education.
He outlines that the country is heavily dependent on the natural resource capital and not focusing on other sectors to improve the country's GDP.
This moving between sectors is not happening sufficiently fast. It's moving very, 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 very slowly. So definitely, for the many years to come, agriculture would be the basis of this growth. But this should be also the second way when people move from agriculture to other sectors.
World Bank has acknowledged that in the MTDP4, the government has focused on sectors like agriculture to bring in revenue for the country. It is also noted that health and education was also a priority in the plan, and therefore the PNG Country Economic Memorandum will be aligning to the plan to see human capital development that leads to economic growth. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
After reaching out for water and food supplies earlier this year, as they continue to recover from the floods, 2 villages along the central province received a generous donation of food supplies. Raika Section 8 of Hula and the Makerupu village saw assistance from Paradise Foods during the weekend.
Following recent floods in the region that have caused significant devastation to the villages of Raika Section 8 of Hula and Makerupu, Paradise Foods Company generously donated cartons of its popular Paradise food and beverage supplies to assist the affected communities. Winnie Vagi, the women's representative of Raika Village Section 8 of Hula, expressed deep gratitude and appreciation on behalf of the community for the company acknowledging its initiative as timely, especially given the challenges the villages currently face.
I'm so grateful and very appreciative of Paradise Food Limited this morning that have come to bless us, because we just went through a natural disaster, which is flood, and our water wells were all damaged, our food gardens were under the water, and we're going through some hectic time.
Nicola Ani, Sponsorship and Promotions Manager at Paradise Foods Limited, highlighted the company's ongoing commitment to assisting the communities in which they operate. She emphasized that their actions align with the company's mission to providing quality products for the nation. Since earlier this year, it is an ongoing plea for assistance from the central province, especially by villages affected by the recent flooding. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. MAPEX Training Institute will continue to enhance its program to meet the workforce requirement of Papua New Guinea and also to set up more campuses in the remote areas of the country and abroad as well. MAPEX Training Institute Chief Executive Officer Marcus Palem Kara made this known after successfully completing Semester 1 of the academic year.
After more than 8 years of operation as a private institution in the country, MAPEX Training Institute wants to provide quality education for Papua New Guineans. The Chief Executive Officer says they are currently working in partnership with American College to send students from MAPEX Training Institute to study abroad.
Recently signed an MOU agreement with the American College. The American College is based in Brisbane, and a branch in Sydney and America and India and all these other countries. So our agreement was basically with the American colleagues in Brisbane.
He also stressed that they are planning to set up a campus in Cairns, Australia.
Talks are underway. We have seen there's a vacant place available, so we will partner with other RTO, Australian RTOs.
Director of MAPEX Training Institute and senior academic at University of Papua New Guinea, Solomon Aweli says the board has approved the management's plan to seek opportunities for students to study abroad.
Recently, the board has approved management's plans to seek opportunities abroad and also internally.
These achievements were announced during a small gathering hosted by the management of MAPEX Training Institute to appreciate the hardworking staff. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
Minister for Defense Win Bakri Daki announced today the invoking of Section 51 of the Defense Act 1974 and the amended Defense Act 2009 to establish a general board of inquiry into the Kupiano tragedy, a first-of-its-kind training mishap in the PNGDF. The inquiry will examine the administration, systems and processes of the conduct of the military training in PNGDF. Member for Koroba Lake Kopiago, William Bando, has announced that there are no more tribal fights in Koroba Lake Kopiago. He also gave his statement on the police recruitment process that should include people of Hela Province.
After 95, I have written to the police commissioner.
Bando has spoken upon the misleading controversies that Lake Koroba Kopiago is still having tribal wars in the district.
There have been pockets of killings on isolated incidents, but it's all coming to a stop. And I'm happy to report that to the media and to our supporters out there that no more tribal fighting happening in the district.
He furthermore elaborated on the need to have police personnel who are from Ella Province to be stationed in the province and commented on the police recruitment system that occurred recently this year.
Police force is an issue that I brought up on the floor of Parliament, and we got 479 positions there. That's yet to be filled, and I want to once again, while I have this opportunity to remind our police hierarchy that Hela needs the tail end of the structure to be filled by young men and women from Hela. They know the geography, they know the environment, they know the challenges, and they should be given the opportunity to join the police force. 195 have been shortlisted from thousands that have applied from Hela. Of that 95, I have written to the police commissioner that at least 50 must be selected from Hela. And I will not back down on my call. There's a MOU been drafted again for reservists, 200 reservists to be trained. I'm not asking for reservists. We worked hard for the structure. We want Hela men and women to be occupying those positions. It's their position, it's their province, and they must be given the opportunity to serve their province through the police force.
Meanwhile, member for Koroba Lake Kopiago, William Bando, has committed 52,220 kina towards 90 students from Christian Brethren churches today. The announcement was made today in Port Moresby. Present to make the handover is Chairman of Christian Brethren Churches, PNG, Peter Warili, and Kopiago District Administrator Stanley Kotange. Koroba Lake Kopiago is taking the approach to minimize arising issues, that is violence and societal behavior, by rolling out its community outreach program through biblical disciplines by the Christian Bible Church. This outreach program targets young adults. One way forward is by sponsoring students in theology studies. Member for the district, William Bando, by supporting the program, committed funding for students to pursue their studies and return to their communities and be advocates of change through biblical disciplines.
A lot of our problems at home are because of irresponsible marriages, irresponsible polygamy, and responsible polygamy. If you choose to be a polygamist, you must be a responsible polygamist. If you become irresponsible, getting young women, paying the bride price, and leaving the kids to fend for themselves with their mother in the villages, that's the whole root cause of our problem in our province. That's the thing that we need to outlaw. Through this program, we will make sure young men and women get married in the church.
Coordinator of the PNG Bible Church Outreach Program, Dr. Pili Mapira, emphasized on the program carried out in the district and how effective it was.
Through the Papua New Guinea Bible churches, we used youths from our church from Port Moresby, and the university students at the time, they came and they partnered with us. We went and we started outreaching in Hela in 2017 to current. Every Christmas we usually go home. And so more than 1,000 to 2,000 youths have been converted through the programs.
Chairman of PNG Christian Brethren Churches, Peter Warili, said that they want to promote their community outreach program so that they set an example to other churches as well in Hela province.
Furthermore, we can't change people even though we do more awareness. We use all kinds of organizations, non-government organizations, media. This will not change. The change comes from within when someone is changed from inside out.
More than 5,000 Seventh-day Adventist SDA churchgoers in Goroka district of Eastern Highlands province witnessed the official launching of PNG for Christ campaign at the National Day Park last weekend. The church members within the district were urged to maintain constant Bible studies and continue to pray for the two-week evangelistic meeting, which is expected to be held on April 24th to May 12, 2024.
Revelation of Hope will be the theme during the fellowship program next year. This evangelistic meeting is aimed at sharing the gospel truth in every village within the district to encourage people to live a better life. Personal Ministry Director of PNG Union Mission, Pastor Mila Kuso, said the Word of God will bring peace and good order in the community. He said God's Word can change everyone, our communities and country as a whole for a better nation. All church members were encouraged to continue to conduct outreach ministries such as prison and hospital visitations, helping the needy and praying for others. That will help strengthen the faith of people living in their respective villages. Over 546,000 kina in free will offering have been received from the church members, and a new Land Cruiser vehicle worth 24,000 kina has been donated to the organizing committee members to use during the event next year. The 6 evangelistic sites within the district include Gahuku High School, Kamaliki Vocational School, Kefamo Church, the National Park, Butte and Goroka Technical Colleges. Pastor Kuso advised all church members that the president of the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in USA, Pastor Ted Wilson, together with the international preachers from the Pacific Island countries, will attend the meetings, as well as to deliver free medical services to the people in Goroka. Natasha Ovoy, National, EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the Nest Fund market report. The kina closed unchanged at $0.2800 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.2725 US, $0.4044 Australian dollars, $0.2398 euro, 37.82 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher. Coffee closed lower, cocoa closed lower, Copra closed higher, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, copper closed higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National MTV News. Manu Manu United Church in the Hiri Koyari district of Central Province received a 20,000 kina check from the Central Province Governor's Office to support the church in hosting the 32nd Annual Church Council for the West Red Scar Circuit yesterday.
During her remarks in the ceremony, Central Province Governor Rufina Pita stressed the importance of the work of a church in a community. She went on to emphasize on how the work of spiritual leaders will complement the work of government officials.
Church leaders, you play much important role than us political leaders, because the foundation that must be set for a nation is that solid rock on which we political leaders can come on and build on. If that is not laid, we will be building in vain.
While thanking Governor Pita for such initiative, especially at a time of the church's need, Chairman for the West Red Scar Circuit, Bisia Lahui, told the Madam Governor that the circuit had survived for more than 30 years by the grace of God. He added by advising the governor that the circuit may in time seek assistance from the governor's office.
Governor, we will be knocking on your doors to support our projects in whatever forms and shapes on the basis of the project, our particular needs or in their needs. So we would be very grateful with open arms for any kind of gestures as we see fit. After all, we all struggle to contain peace and harmony in our church and communities.
The West Red Scar Circuit 32nd Annual Church Council saw 96 delegates from Papa, Bogi, Lea and all the villages in between for the 5-day meet set for the 11th to the 15th of July this year. Natasha Ovoy, National MTV News.
And moving to overseas news, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has hit out at NATO for not offering a clear timeline for the country's membership to the military alliance.
He's not happy when he heard this communique was released or was about to be released. He described it as unprecedented and absurd not to have a time frame for Ukraine joining NATO. He went on to say that for Russia this means motivation to continue its terror, and he said that uncertainty is weakness. Now what he wants is Article 5 protection. Article 5 is the part of the NATO treaty that says one country's attacked. It's an attack on all countries. And he wants that protection not for now, but when the war ends, as an insurance policy down the track to make sure that Russia can't attack Ukraine again. And there's a real history to this. Going back to 2008, the NATO conference in Bucharest, back then NATO declared that both Georgia and Ukraine could eventually join NATO without giving a time frame. What happened? Within 6 years, both Georgia and Ukraine had been invaded by Russia, because what happened was they'd exposed their intentions, they hadn't given that Article 5 protection, and so you can understand that sense of frustration boiling over today.
Major highways and roads have been shut down in Tel Aviv, and Israel's main airport blocked in one of the country's biggest protests.
I'm at Tel Aviv Airport, and you can see the thousands of people that have turned out here for this National Day of Disruption. These people have come to the airport because they're protesting against the Netanyahu government's planned judicial changes. And a key part of those judicial changes was voted on in the parliament last night. It's something called a reasonableness law, and it means that the High Court would no longer have the power to strike down a government law if it found it unreasonable. Across Israel, we have seen major highways shut down. People even camped on the roads overnight to blockade those roads and those highways. Protesters have been arrested by the dozen. Police have been using water cannons to shut down these demonstrations and move protesters along. But the whole point of this day is to cause disruption, to send a message to the Netanyahu government that there are thousands, in fact hundreds of thousands of people here who do not like these proposed judicial reforms.
It's like a second work because we are working now to keep our lives in the way that we want to live. The values of equality and humanity. We are here because we have no choice.
Now, these protests aren't new. In fact, we've been seeing them in Israel since about the beginning of the year, so for 6 months. But this action today is by far the largest demonstration we have seen across the country. Tell me about your shirt, what it says.
It says democracy or mutiny. There is no other way. It's either democracy or mutiny. We can't afford ourselves to lose in this battle.
The protesters here were aiming to shut down the country today in a sign of their determination to change these proposed laws. They say they will continue to protest every week against the Netanyahu government.
In Australia, a woman has died and a man arrested after a suspected domestic violence incident at Rooty Hill in Sydney's west.
Well, police were called to this Rooty Hill street just after 8 p.m. last night after receiving a report of a concern for welfare for a woman inside a home. When they arrived, they sadly found the body of a woman in her 50s. She had died at the scene. Police also found a man, a 50-year-old man at the scene. He was the woman's ex-husband, and he was found with severe injuries to his throat and his arms. Now, he's been rushed to Westmead Hospital in a critical condition. Now, we understand the pair had been separated for quite some time. It's understood the man lived here at this home and the woman was simply visiting last night. We have spoken to neighbours, many of whom actually knew the couple this morning, and they've expressed their shock at learning what has happened here.
Shocking. Because I knew the guy. I always talked to him nearly every day.
Pretty distraught by it, knowing that nothing's really happened around here at all for a long, long time at all that I know of. So, yeah, it's pretty scary.
In the U.S., the followers of cult leader Charles Manson, Leslie Van Houten, has been released from a U.S. prison after 7 decades behind bars.
Leslie Van Houten, one of Charles Manson's former followers, has been released from prison in California after spending more than 50 years behind bars. She is in her 70s now, but she was 19 years old when she was involved in the killings of 2 people in Los Angeles in 1969, the murders of grocer Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary LaBianca. They were 2 of 7 people in total killed by the followers of Charles Manson, a cult leader who orchestrated these murders that really terrorised the city in the late 1960s. Among the victims too was actress Sharon Tate, although Leslie Van Houten was not convicted over her murder. But the parole board in California had recommended Leslie Van Houten for early release on multiple occasions, but that was rejected each time by the state's governor. Earlier this year, though, there was an appeals court ruling that paved the way for her release. The governor said that he would not continue to fight this through the courts, although he was disappointed with that decision. And we also heard from the family of the LaBiancas. They said that they were heartbroken by the prospect of Van Houten's release. But she has walked free from prison in California today. Her lawyer says that she will spend some time in transitional housing, given that she has spent so much time behind bars. Her lawyer says that she will take time learning basic skills like how to drive a car and get a debit card. So a sad day in the eyes of the family of those victims, but Leslie Van Houten now, after 50 years, is free from prison.
National MTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And the PNG Hunters is visiting the Lihir Gold operations in New Ireland Province this week. The trip is sponsored by Newcrest Mining and will be a first for the Hunters as an opportunity to visit one of the world's largest Tier 1 gold mining operations. The Hunters will also participate in safety and leadership sessions with the workforce and the Lihir Rugby Football League Association and run on-field coaching sessions with local students. The Hunters are on bye the following weekend. The anticipated Port Moresby Basketball Grand Finals is deferred to Sunday, the 16th of this month. This was confirmed by Port Moresby Basketball Association's General Manager for Operations, Sleeve Moha. This is the second postponement of the final games this week.
The General Manager confirmed the unfortunate news. He went on to express that the deferral was due to the issue of ensuring a fitting venue that can enable efficient crowd control.
We were supposed to play our best of 3 grand finals tonight, but due to some reasons we have deferred it to Sunday, and the venue will be at St. John Guys.
Crediting its major sponsor Credit Corp alongside the support from Trophy House, Moha expressed that the association had a challenging year but is pulling through well so far. Moha said that although starting off with 5 teams for the Women's League and 6 for the Men's League this year, he highlighted that a challenge was letting go of 2 teams due to members playing in other associations.
Women's and men's team playing in other associations. We had about 4 associations here, so we've given only opportunity for under 19s, the juniors, but for seniors, it was either you play with Pomba or you go, and every player has their own decision, and we can't force them to come play with the association.
The coming basketball grand final game on Sunday will see the Chariots take on the Saints in the Women's League and the Ultimates take on the Chariots in the Men's League. Natasha Ovoy, Trukai Sports.
In golf, following the outstanding success of the inaugural PNG Senior Open, Lay Golf Club has announced that it has signed an agreement with PNGA Australia to host the event for the next 3 years. In the tournament this year, professionals will vie for the Chief Jacob Luke Cup and a healthy share of the 220,000 kina in prize money, whilst the qualifying amateurs over 50 years old with a handicap of 10 or under will battle it out for the Chief Jacob Luke medal. Emotionally won in the 2022 by Mr. John Burry, a dear friend of the late Chief. Trukai Sports continue after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In tennis, Andrei Rublev played at a high level this morning against Novak Djokovic. However, the former world number one's experience was too much for the young Rublev.
4-6, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. He's through to the semis. He's after his 5th straight Wimbledon. Now, keep in mind, Novak isn't and hasn't always been someone who has been synonymous with grass courts, and he is just dominating at Wimbledon. As I said, looking for his 5th Wimbledon title in a row. He'll come up against one of the young guns in Yannick Sinner, so that'll be a really interesting clash. Sinner, so young. Meanwhile, pitching on screen, Ukrainian Elena Svitolina. I think she's ranked in the 70s in the world rankings. She knocked off Iga Swiatek, the world number 1. That sees her through to the semi-finals as well, and she feels like every time she steps out on court, a little part of her is representing her country and the struggles that they're obviously going through with the Russian invasion. And she said after the match that every win she has is a small little victory for Ukraine. So she's doing it for more than just herself. So yeah, some great storylines peppered through Wimbledon, really getting down towards the pointy end as well.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region: Port Moresby City, partly cloudy with possible inland showers or drizzles. Popondetta, mostly cloudy with a shower or two. In Momase region, Ley City, rain showers easing to mostly cloudy periods. Vanimo, mostly cloudy with a shower or two. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, cloudy with occasional rain showers and possible thunderstorms. Buka, mostly cloudy with a shower or two. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, partly cloudy with possible showers and thunderstorms. Mendi and Wabeg, partly cloudy with possible rain drizzles.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Wednesday, 12th of July, 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.